So far we discussed about many things very generally, but tell us more, maybe some story about some of the banks, some success. Any success?
Well, we're busy. I think that's fair to say, and we're looking to hire a lot. Why? In the last couple of years, just focusing really on making those better user experiences. So what we've done is we deployed, I'll just give you a few examples, at Chase Bank in the UK. And they want to challenge the traditional banks, traditional American bank, coming to Europe, not easy, UK, very competitive market. Yeah. They have a very unique proposition, cashback rewards, and what they wanted to do is come in at the same benchmark that the other Revolut, Monzo, Starling, Monese have set. And we did a really good job, and we're getting reviews from their users that this stuff works like magic. So they continue to grow. They continue to do very well. That's one example. Another example is another mid-tier bank in the UK. We clean up well over 200 million transactions a month. Calls to their call center dropped by 30% just after launch. The average call to a call center in the UK is between 10 and 12 pounds. Yeah. So you think about the reduction in calls because people go, I don't understand this transaction. You know, BK. No, we say it's Burger King. Here's the logo. Here it is in Leicester Square. So giving that clarity has real hard life benefits for a bank. You have better user experiences, but you also have a drop in call centers and what's called chargebacks, or what's the other term for it, for when people dispute the charge. Yes. Now in mainland Europe, it's not 10 to 12 pounds per call, it's more like 5, 7 euros, but it's still a significant savings. So we're now about 20, 30 banks being deployed in Southeast Asia and Europe, and now we're starting to do some in North America and touch wood, South America soon. So this has been, hectic, busy times for us at Snowdrop.
And you forgot also to mention that in Singapore we worked together, and the first bank to convert was the oldest one, right?
Yeah, Standard Chartered, great bank. And we've also worked, so not as I talk about the traditional banks, but cryptocurrency providers like WireX, reward providers like YouGoSave, loyalty providers like Avios, digital offshoots of traditional banks like Boulder Bank in Norway or Nickel in France. Now they're expanding throughout Europe. Family banking like GoHenry and other people like that. So actually, there's actually quite a broad set of people that would, as businesses that benefit from having better user experiences and lower operational costs.
From my side, from the Google point of view, when we watch this use case that you are mentioning, so let's say make richer and more clear the end of the month bill of your credit card, right? Is definitely super important as an impact for, of course, cost saving, less call to the bank and more precise information. But also it's a way to reassure the user, right? And also to make the user a kind of garant or protector of their own account, right? If there is a transaction, it's not me, I immediately proactively do something, right? I call the bank. Hopefully, if the app is more advanced, I block my card, these kind of things, right? But for me, when I see this, it's just the beginning, right? It's just the tip of the iceberg. I think if you connect these transactions that are more and more, right? Today, electronic transaction doesn't represent only our cost abroad, doesn't represent only when I go and I use my credit card for my work, but it's the coffee every morning, it's the la baguette in France, right? So it represents a lot of transaction, a lot of spend for every people, and if we get a connection to the real world of each of these transactions, and then we wrap it up in service, that definitely will give this kind of better UX UI, better connection to the user, not became only a reporting, but more like a support, right? To suggest things from the bank itself. So maybe we can talk about some of these use cases, etc. But are you seeing also some of these coming? Some banks thinking about this as well?
Yeah. Well, we're going to be launching soon a bank that's, I'll give you 2 or 3 examples of people, once you've enriched and you have the full name, the clean name, the real name, and the logo and the category, there's a lot of other things you can do. So one example would be all that stuff is indexable. All those clean names are searchable. and I can geolocate it. So I can say, show me where I was on all my trips to France for the last few months.
Wow.
Here they are,
okay.
right? Another example, though, initially that was done with people like Dozens. You could say, show me in my neighborhood where I'm spending my money for the last month.
That was a very great example.
It's a great, good, simple user interface. A lot of people enjoyed it. The other thing you could do is actually show, okay, if this is my spend, are these merchants green? Are these merchants, certified green? I know Google Consumer Maps is working on this. Google's also doing eco-routing, how to get there. And what Snowdrop is also bringing in to fill in those gaps is, ESG tagging. So you could say, I talked about that bank doing 200 million transactions we clean up.
Sure.
The average value per transaction is about £10, right? So you're talking, a lot of money in terms of value, just one bank. And if I can say, here's some greener choices that you're doing. Go here, 3-minute walk, how to get there. It's open. Here's what the street view looks like, right? Or categorize how much of your spend, your monthly spend is on green merchants or, carbon footprint neutral merchants. That actually, in scale with Google, but also our partnership with Visa, starts to make a big impact. And that's what we're hoping to do next year.
No, I really believe in also this model that we are trying to push a little bit together in the user. Right? So first is really inform them better, right, with better information, cleaner. Secondly is maybe summarizing, right? So saying, hey, not only this month you spend this, but where you spend, how you spend, in which kind of merchant you spend, how much is your impact on Hart, et cetera, and then helping them to change if they want, right? Because it's not enough to tell you, oh, in average, your carbon footprint is higher than the average user, right? So then what I do, right?
Yeah, show me an alternative.
Exactly. Yeah. So if, for example, I show you a very simple, and then again, we are in the UX UI, a very simple maps of where you spend, and tell you, okay, in the place where you spend, where you consume your lunch, when you go out, et cetera, there are alternatives that are greener, then it's just a stop away, right? There is just 5 minutes away. I can do that, right? And then I can learn and then see an impact also, again, on these kind of three pillars.
I think there may be different use cases. Again, once you do the transaction enrichment, you have again, just to share some numbers, when we run it using Google and our own technology, we get about a 95% match rate. It's never perfect. We'd like to get to...
World is complex.
World is complex. Merchants come, merchants go. We do online as well as in-store transactions. But, just to give you an example, when people try to do this themselves, they get around 60, 65%. So that's a big difference when you work with a real professional API built purposely for this. But once you get up to that level of 95%, ideally above, accuracy, there's going to be different use cases. Yeah. So we could talk about a family bank where the parents want to teach their kids how to spend money better, and they want to have control. Where's my daughter or my son spending their allowance? But the kids want to be able to say, hey, as a family, we need to be more greener. Mom, dad, we should be shopping here, not here. Right? Sure. So it's a way that they can, not only the parents educate the kids, but the kids can start to educate the parents on what they need to do better, right? In the UK, something like 40% of people live paycheck to paycheck. They have very little savings. With energy costs rising and inflation, that may be 45, 50% of people living paycheck to paycheck. So if you could say, you can save 5% on your spend by just walking a few extra minutes here or going here, that matters. Yeah. So in the aggregate, transaction enrichment may have different use cases, right? But where you're going to see these new services built on top of it that leverage that accuracy, that leverage that reliability. And I'm looking forward to working with a broad ecosystem, Google partners, Visa partners, so we can really go to the market with a really range of services that all benefit from transaction enrichment.
No, I agree with you. And as a personal experience, I was working with several banks and even a car provider, right? So they historically, again, they have a lot of offers, but you get some of these offers when you maybe go and sign for a credit card, or there is this very beautiful sub-section in a website that nobody visits, right? Where there are all the different list of brand, hotels, things you can benefit with your credit card, for example, or for your bank. Mm-hmm. But you don't have it in your face when you need it, right? So I think it's very important, again, UX, UI, connecting. Tell you, hey, you just check in a hotel. Well, I have 5 restaurants around that you can have a benefit using your card, right? Or again, as you were saying, the opposite. Do you need your bill every month is very close to what you get, right? So we can help you to save some money, right? And how you save it, where, and maybe also showing pattern of consumption for people who are similar to you, exactly, right? Again, all these really in the respect of the privacy, really in the respect of the individual information. Maybe you can say more, right? We are not following people, right? It's not about that.
But if you think about personal information, none of our technologies, Google and Snowdrop, I was at a bank last week and they said, how much of the personal information is being shared with Google? I'm afraid that Google will know all about my banking customers. And I said to them, no information is shared with Google. What's shared with Snowdrop is this messy merchant name.
Sure.
That's it. Merchant category code, maybe the postcode, ideally a bit of the address helps. Maybe there's a merchant ID number in there. That's it. I don't know who's going there. Yeah. I don't know anything about the person. No personal information is ever shared with Snowdrop, and certainly never with Google.
Yeah. That's a bigger responsibility of the banks, right? And for these are highly regulated.
That's why they're going to build personalized finance management. We're just going to tell them what are the underlying enrichment of the merchants. Or if they're going to be doing personalized loyalty and rewards, great. We're not going to know who those people are. We're just going to say where those merchants are, or this merchant to open,
and they will do the combination.
Yeah, that's their job. Our job is to make sure the underlying enrichment is 95% accurate, super duper reliable, and you have all the logo management, all that stuff that the bank doesn't need to worry about. We're going to worry about that instead. Thank you for joining us today. This has been Ken Hart from Snowdrop Solutions with my guest, Nicola Dalmazzo of Google Maps. If you have any questions or queries, don't hesitate to reach out to Snowdrop at snowdropsolutions.co.uk or Snowdrop Solutions on LinkedIn.